Good morning. Good morning. Welcome back, you guys. Welcome back. Welcome back to Matthew Daniels TV. I'm your host, Matthew Daniels, aka the real bookworm. But I'm not just a bookworm, world. I am the real bookworm. Make sure you get it right. Please make sure you get it right. I'm doing the book game like it ain't never been done before, and I'm doing the book game like it'll probably never be done again. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate y'all. Make sure you hit that like button when you come in the building. Today I got something real special for y'all. I told you guys that I was going to be going over these slave narratives, and I was reading through them again yesterday, and I found a very, very, very interesting tale, a story that I would like to share with you guys. Y'all see the title. This one is going to be called "Gruesome Death of an Overseer: How Jake Escaped to Freedom," and this is going to be coming from the Alabama slave narratives. Now, again, I understand that people love history. You like to hear about it, you like to learn about it. This channel is all about people that love to get some deeper insights into what went on before they was alive, but you may not have the time to actually read through the literature to find these gems for yourself. So I'll be presenting a lot of these gems here on this channel, doing the footwork for you guys to bring you some tantalizing tales from our past. So again, this one is going to be the gruesome death of an overseer, how Jake escaped to freedom, and I'm going to be coming from the Alabama slave narrative. Now, before I get off into it, I thought it would be wise to first explain what an overseer is, because some people may not understand what an overseer is within the context of slavery in the antebellum South. Some people may not know what an overseer is. So I went to the Mississippi Encyclopedia online to get a good working definition of what an overseer is, so that everyone can follow along with the story. So let's read this. It says, no figure was more indispensable to the success of plantation agriculture in Mississippi than the overseer, an individual charged with the general oversight of all operations on the plantation. Usually employed on units with 20 or more working field hands, the overseer occupied a position in the managerial hierarchy between the owner or his agent and the black drivers who directly supervised the work of their fellow slaves under the gang system that most cotton plantations utilized. Chiefly responsible for slave discipline and crop production, overseers assigned gangs to work, administered corporal punishment to those who violated plantation rules, enforced a night curfew, distributed food and clothing, treated minor medical ailments, maintained various record and account books, and executed other routine duties associated with the operations of slave plantations. In 1860, Mississippi had nearly 4,000 overseers, a number exceeded only in Virginia, Georgia, and Alabama. Each Mississippi overseer was responsible for roughly 60 to 100 slaves, a markedly lower ratio than was found in the rice districts of South Carolina and sugar parishes of Louisiana, where in some counties one overseer had charge of as many as 300 slaves. In contrast to their counterparts in the older Atlantic seaboard states, the overseers on Mississippi's cotton plantations tended to be young, unmarried, relatively inexperienced, and disposed to move frequently from one plantation to another in search of more attractive conditions. So what an overseer is basically the guy who the slave owner hired to operate the day-to-day to run the day-to-day operations of a slave plantation. A lot of times the beatings that were inflicted on the slaves were done by the overseer, the individual that made sure while they were out in the fields that made sure everyone was working was the overseer. The individual that made sure the slaves did not stay away from the slave plantation longer than their pass allowed was the overseer. The overseer was the hands-on guy with the actual slaves, right? So you had the slave owner, you had the overseer under the slave owner, and then right before you got to the actual field hands working, doing the work, the slaves doing the work, a lot of times you also had another Negro slave who was directly under the overseer, who would a lot of times perform the work that the overseer told them to perform. Like, let's say someone violated a rule and the overseer felt that they needed to be beaten. A lot of times they would have another slave, a black person, a Negro. They would have them actually perform the beating, hold them down, tie them up, whip them, beat them, things of that nature. So when we're talking about the death, the gruesome death of an overseer, this is who the overseer was. And honestly, I have no sympathy. I have no sympathy for this overseer. I have no sympathy for this gruesome death. The overseer actually got exactly what he deserved. So what we're gonna do now that you guys know what an overseer is, we're going to go to the Alabama slave narratives. Now, this particular Alabama slave narrative is a story told by an ex-slave who was named Haywood Ford. Haywood Ford. And when he was being interviewed for the Federal Slave Narratives Project, he decided to tell the interviewer a story about his time in slavery. And we appreciate the ancestor Haywood Ford for telling this story, because now I can read I can read this account and I can share this account with you guys, and we all can get some firsthand understanding of what life on a plantation was actually like. So let's get into it. And remember, this is the story of the ancestor Haywood Ford. Whenever we know their names, it's always important to say their names, remember their names, and acknowledge their names, because so many of our ancestors, they were stripped of everything. They were stripped of their language. They were stripped of their names. They were stripped of their children, their parents. They were stripped of any type of self-identity. And so many of them, their legacies and their lives and their struggles and what they went through on a day-to-day is lost to us. Their stories are lost to us. So the stories that we do know, the names that we do know, we should appreciate it. So I appreciate the ancestor Haywood Ford for telling this story and enduring what he endured. So let's get into it. It says, "White folks," said Haywood Ford, "I's gonna tell you a story." Wait, before I start, some of you are new to my channel, and whenever I read these slave narratives, they're written how the individual spoke. So a lot of these ex-slaves, they spoke in broken English, so it's written in broken English. But that's just to stay true to what the ancestors actually said. So let's get into it. "White folks," said Haywood Ford, "I's gonna tell you a story about a mean overseer and what happened to him during the slavery days. It all commenced when a nigga named Jake Williams got a whooping for staying out after the time on his pass done give out. All the niggas on the place hated the overseer because he was so mean and used to try to think up things to whoop us for. One morning, the slaves was lined up ready to eat their breakfast, and Jake Williams was a petting his old red-bone hound. About that time, the overseer come up and seen Jake a petting his hound, and he say, "Nigger, you ain't got time to be a fool and long that dog. Now make him get." Jake tried to make the dog go home, but the dog didn't want to leave Jake. Then the overseer picked up a rock and slammed the dog in the back. The dog, he then went a howling off. That night, Jake, he come to my cabin and he say to me, "Haywood, I is gonna run away to a free state. I ain't gonna put up with this treatment no longer. I can't stand much more." I gives him my hand and I say, "Jake, I hopes you get there. Maybe I'll see you again sometime." "Haywood," he says, "I wish you look at her after." "Haywood," he says, "I wish you look at her my hound. Belle, feed her and keep her the best you can. She a mighty good possum and coon dog. I hates to part with her, but I know that you is the best person I could leave her with." And with that, Jake slipped out the door, and I seen him a-walking toward the swamp down the long furrows of corn. It didn't take that overseer long to find out that Jake done run away. And when he did, he got out the bloodhounds and started off, and I'm assuming that says after him. Some of the bottom of this particular page is torn off, cut off rather. I apologize. There's no way to get that back. But we see that the overseer has realized Jake is trying to escape, and now he's about to give chase. We'll pick up right here. Jake, he was too tired to go any further. He circled round and doubled his tracks so as to confuse the hounds, and then he climbed a tree. 'Twarn't long afore he seen the light of the overseer coming through the woods, and the dogs was a getting closer and closer. Finally, they smelled the tree that Jake was in, and they started barking round it. The overseer lifted his lighted pine knot in the air so he could see Jake. He say, "Nigger, come on down from there. You done wasted enough of our time." But Jake, he never moved nor make a sound. And all the time, the dogs kept a howling, and the overseer kept a swearing. "Come on down," he say again. "If and you don't, I's a coming up and knock you out of that tree with a stick." Jake, still, he never moved, and the overseer done began to climb the tree. When he got where he could almost reach Jake, he swung that stick, and it come down on Jake's leg and hurt him terrible. Jake, he raised his foot and kicked the overseer right in the mouth, and that white man went a-tumbling to the ground. When he hit the earth, them hounds pounced on him. Jake, he then lowered himself to the bottom limbs so he could see what had happened. He saw the dogs a-tearing at the man, and he hollered, "Hold 'em, Belle! Hold 'em, gal!" The leader of that pack of hounds, white folks, weren't no bloodhound. She was a plain old red-bone possum and coon dog, and the rest done just like she done, tearing at the overseer's throat. All the while, Jake, he hollering from the tree for the dogs to get him. 'Twarn't long afore them dogs tore that man all to pieces. He died right under that maple tree that he run Jake up. Jake and that coon hound struck off through the woods. The rest of the pack come home. I seen Jake after us niggas was freed. That's how I come to know all about it. It must have been 6 years after they killed the overseer. I tells him how glad I is to see him, and then I looked at the dog. That ain't Belle, I says. No, Jake answers. This her puppy. Then he told me the whole story. I always did want to know what happened to him. Now that's an interesting story right there. So we see in the story that basically it was an evil, wicked overseer who was tending to the day-to-day functions of the plantation that a slave named Haywood Ford was on. And there was another slave on this plantation named Jake Williams there with Haywood Ford. And for whatever reason, this overseer loved to whoop on the slave. So he would always try to find a reason to whoop on him. So he found a reason to whoop on this guy, Jake, this slave, Jake, whooped him and beat him. Jake got mad, but it was nothing he could do. He had to accept it. Later on, Jake was petting his dog. He had an old possum and coon dog. So he petting the dog. The overseer get mad, yell at him. He strike the dog. Jake feel like he had enough. And old Jake decides to escape and run away to freedom. And so while he's running away to freedom, the overseer gives, and it's crazy, the overseer gives chase with a pack of dogs. They run Jake up in a tree, and the overseer is demanding Jake come out the tree, but Jake doesn't respond and he doesn't come down. The overseer climbs the tree to get Jake, hits him with a stick. Jake kicks him in his mouth. The overseer falls to the ground, and when he falls, the dogs attack him and start tearing him to pieces. Now, this overseer, he brought the dogs there so they could bite at and tear at and claw at Jake for trying to escape. But the tables would turn and the dogs attacked the overseer. And as fate would have it, the leader of the particular pack of dogs that turned on the overseer and viciously mauled and killed the overseer was the same dog that Jake was petting in the beginning of the story, and the same dog that the overseer hit with the rock. So I wonder if the dog, and dogs, they do have good memories. I wonder if the dog remembered Jake's kindness and the overseer's wickedness. And so those dogs, they tore the overseer all to pieces, left him dead there at the bottom of the tree where he intended to leave Jake dead. And Jake and the dog ran off. And luckily, Jake did. He actually made it to freedom. He actually escaped. He made it to a free state. A lot of slaves escaped during those days and made it to freedom. There's a lot of stories about them as well. Even on the Underground Railroad, a lot of them didn't have to do it how Jake did it on their own. A lot of them had help. But several years after that, 6 years after that to be exact, the Civil War took place. Freedom came. These slaves found out that they was free, and old Haywood Ford, he was in another state one day, and he happened to run across old Jake Williams, the slave that he saw escape. And he was able to ask him how he was able to escape, ask him how he been, and Jake was able to tell him this wonderful story of how he made it to freedom, and how this overseer got divine justice at the hands of the dogs that he meant to bring down wrath, fury, and punishment on Jake for trying to escape. And because they crossed paths and Jake was able to tell Haywood the story, Haywood was able to tell the federal interviewers the story, and now it's documented for us. I hope you guys like this story. I hope it gave y'all some more insight into some things that took place on slave plantations, how life on a slave plantation actually was. And again, I advise you guys to in your spare time, look up the slave narrative. Just, slave narratives of Alabama, slave narratives of Texas, slave narratives of Georgia, slave narratives of Mississippi, slave narratives of Florida. Just look through these things and read through these things. But if you don't have time or you don't like to read, just subscribe to this channel, like this video, keep coming back to this channel, because what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be uploading more and more videos where I present to you guys stories from these slave narratives, accounts from these slave narratives, where I read them. I give you just a little bit of insight into what the story is talking about, and we just have a good time, a short time together, where I share some history with you guys, some history that you may not hear anywhere else. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Leave me some kind of comment in the comment section. Again, make sure you like this, make sure you share this, and go research those slave narratives. And if you don't want to research those slave narratives, hit the subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button, because I'm going to be presenting a lot of these on my channel. So once again, thanks for watching Matthew Daniels TV. I'm your brother Matthew Daniels, aka the Real Bookworm. Not just a bookworm, family. I am the real bookworm. Oh man, I just saw your comment. Salute, family. Salute. What's going on? What's going on, family? I am the real bookworm. Make sure you get it right. I'm doing the book game like it ain't never been done before. And I'm doing the book game like it'll probably never be done again. That's just real, man. Hey, Ralph HD boy, man. Hey, I just want to say, man, I appreciate all the love you be showing, man. All the comments you been leaving me, all the encouraging words. I appreciate the support. That's real, man. That's real, especially with those morning motivations I was doing. It was comments like yours, support that I got from people like you, that gave me the motivation I needed to keep doing it. That's real, man. So I hope everything good happen to you in life. I hope all your dreams and all your aspirations come true, fam. For real, for real. But I'm about to get on about my day. I work overnight, so it's about time for me to go to sleep. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it, man. Oh yeah. I'm definitely keep it coming, fam. I'm gonna definitely keep it coming, man. I got a lot of these in the queue, man. Got a lot, man. I'm finna do one, bro. I'm finna do one about buried treasure in the South. You feel me? Buried treasure in the South, man. Like, now is this gonna be crazy? This gonna be crazy, man. When I actually show you guys that right now today, it's unaccounted for treasure troves all over the South. Now I don't have the key to go and get it all. I don't know the exact location of where it's at, but I have the records, because I read so much. I've amassed a lot of information about this, and I'm gonna share some of that with you guys. And man, I'm telling you, it could be somebody. Man, it could be somebody with $1 million buried in their backyard. They don't even know it, fam. They don't even know it. But man, yeah, y'all like this video. Y'all subscribe to the channel, man, so y'all can get some more of this content, so y'all can learn some more of this history, and just follow along with me, man. Y'all have a good morning, everybody, man. Hotep, I'm out.